Hey guys, it's Tony here with ARO-Online, and once again I'm not in the woods. Still prepping for my upcoming trip to Isle Royale, which will be this point in just over 2 weeks. And I wanted to make a video kind of talking about how I prepare, or how I planned my trip. You know, what resources I used. I'll even kind of go into some detail on the route I'm planning on taking and show you the map that I have laid out on all trails. So first thing, the first two items I bought when I was deciding to go up there were this is the Isle Royale National Park foot trails and water routes. And the guy's name, the writer's name is Dufresne, or Dufresne. I assume it's Dufresne, but not real sure. So let's see if we can get that to focus there. Yeah. So this book, according to everybody on the Isle Royale forums and websites, is a must, and I have to say it's a good read. I'm not planning on actually taking the book with me, but what I'm going to do is, like, the pages that matter, I'm going to just snap a photo with my cell phone, and that'll be good enough for me. This, aside from kind of little footnotes that I'll be reading maybe at the beginning of the day, or maybe at my lunch break, or potentially at the night, you know, that evening, preparing for the next day. I don't really plan on being in this while I'm on trail, but it has been valuable as far as planning routes and understanding what to expect. The second item, which is apparently a must from the regulars to the park, is the Nat Geo Isle Royale map, and I actually happen to really enjoy these maps. I kind of collect them from anywhere I'm going. I mean, I collect any map in general. As you can see behind me, that's a map of a trip I did in the Boundary Waters, 3 years ago. And this stack of maps and map books that I have for some other hikes that have either already happened or am planning on taking. So these were, this map is a standard. It's waterproof, ripstop, it's kind of plasticized map, and works really well. You don't have super tight resolution, but aside from some spots where you might be able to lose the trail, it's really not everything that I have researched says it's not really that confusing of a place to hike. Yes, you can struggle with losing the trail on some of the ridges because it's rock, and at some point you'll just kind of be walking along the rock and maybe the trail dives off to the side and you don't see it, and you keep going, and then you have to walk back and find where you kind of missed the turn, so to speak. This won't have this map won't have the resolution for that, but it is a great tool for me to have in conjunction with my GPS and the map that I'll have from that. So those are the two physical pieces of gear that I got in planning. The other thing, which isn't really a piece of gear, that I purchased was the America the Beautiful Pass. This is good for a year and will let you into all national parks for free. Like, I've already, basically it's a pass to get in that I paid for. That for the length of time that I'm going to be on the island, I think it's either $5 or $7 a day, but either way, that the cost of the daily fee that I would be on the island was almost the exact same as what getting that pass was going to be. So I went ahead and purchased the pass for that. You also get some other benefits, like you can get, I think, discounts at stores and things like that. But main reason I got it was just because it was 100% like covering. It was the same price as if I was just going to go to the island anyways. So went ahead and did that. And really that's kind of it as far as the physical planning. The next piece that we'll go into, and I'll take you over to my computer and show you, is like I created some spreadsheets to help me gauge what I was going to be carrying and taking, and the route I was going to go, and then I used alltrails.com to physically lay out the map so that I could get a good elevation profile of my exact route, and I found that they're pretty accurate on AllTrails. It may not be 100%, but it's pretty accurate. So I used AllTrails for that part, and then I also downloaded the GPX file from AllTrails and have transferred that to my DeLorme InReach device so that I have the track on there that I can follow. I'll also download it onto my cell phone as a backup for the DeLorme, but I'll just use one or the other while I'm on the island. I won't use both at the same time. So let's go ahead and go into looking at my spreadsheet, and then I'll show you the other items as well. To just kind of hop in here on the spreadsheet that I've got created. I originally had two options here. I had an original itinerary where I pretty much hiked straight down the Greenstone as much as possible, and I ended up backtracking a little bit on that option. So I chose to look at a different route that would have as little backtracking as possible, and ended up coming up with this particular route that's on screen here. So what you can see is what I'm looking at. So this is the drive time. So it's going to take me about 12 hours to drive there. It's like 700 miles. And then I'm going to spend the night in my car outside the visitor center, and then Friday morning I'll wake up and basically hop on the ferry. I think I have to be there at 8 a.m. To start the process, but the ferry leaves at 9 a.m., lands at 3 p.m., and then you have to go through orientation in Rock Harbor. I'm really not sure how long that orientation takes. What I do know is that I'm outside of peak season, so I don't know that the ferry will be full. It could. I don't know. So, that could, from what I've heard, that can take up to an hour to do the check-in and Rock Harbor, and do the orientation. So sometime between 3 and 4 p.m. I'll be getting on my way, and I have my initial hope is to hit Lake Ritchie. Now that's 12 miles starting at 3 p.m. And I can do and have done at home here in Indiana. I've done 13 miles in just about 4 hours on a fairly flat trail. And I'll show you the elevation profile here in a minute, but that first the first 9 miles, there's like 0 elevation change. You're basically walking along the shore. I know you're not directly on the shore for the entire time, but that's pretty much it. And then the elevation change that there is after that is not, in my opinion, is not significant. It's a couple hundred feet. And yes, there's some up and downs, but it's just a couple hundred feet. So that leaves me believing that maybe I could make it happen in about 5 hours and hit camp before dark. I'm also going to be realistic and realize that I've never been there before, and the trail, even though it's flat, could be slow. So I have 2 other options with my actual primary, my secondary option, I should say, being to stop about 2 miles short of Lake Ritchie and spend the night at Mosque Basin. The real reason I avoided that one originally is because all the stuff I've read says it fills up quickly. And, I don't really want to roll in at 8 o'clock when people are getting ready to turn in for bed a lot of times when you're hiking, and be butting in on other people's campsites. But I will if I have to. If I'm dead as I'm rolling in, I'll stop. The other option is if it's really bad or whatever, I could stop at like Daisy Farm, but that's only like an 8-mile day or something like that, as opposed to a 12-mile day, and that puts me way off kilter for day 2. So my real option is Mosque Basin or Lake Ritchie. Then we go Lake Ritchie up to Hatchet Lake, and that's where we get on to the Greenstone, and we start hiking along that. That day is supposed to have the worst of the ups and downs along the Greenstone, along that ridge. But by me getting that extra 2 miles into Lake Ritchie, that makes that day a little bit shorter and definitely more manageable for me. Then day 3 is a little bit shorter, so only 8 miles to give myself a little bit of chance to recover and to set myself up for hitting the Washington Creek Campground or over there in Wendigo, where I will pick up my my resupply package on day 4. Day 3 and day 4 have some good ups and downs, particularly day 4, but they're not like significant. Whereas like on day 2, the ups and downs are like vertical. Like from everything I've read and from the elevation profile, it's like you're going a few hundred feet and then you're going like a few hundred feet straight back down. So day 3 and day 4 will be tough as well, but I think they'll not be as bad, and my pack will be as light as it can be on those days. So the big thing about day 4 is there is no water crossings, and if I go to a different tab here, distances, on day 4, they're essentially from the moment I leave South Lake Desor, there is no water until I hit Wendigo, so I will have to carry extra water through that section, you know, with it being 11, almost 12 miles. So I'm going to camel up before I leave. That's the plan anyways. And then I will, you know, take an extra at least 3 liters total, or I might take 4. It kind of depends on the temperature a little bit. If it's a little bit hotter, I'll definitely take 4. But if it's a cool day, I might only take 3. And just for clarification, I usually drink 2 liters over about 10 miles. So we're only talking about stretching it a little bit. After I stay at Washington Creek and hopefully get a shower, I'll pick up my resupply package with all my food and an extra battery pack for recharging my cameras and stuff. So I'll pick up all of that stuff and have my heaviest pack of the trip. Now I'm hoping that I'll be okay with that, just from the idea of having a little bit more of my trail legs underneath me. And again, I'm going to eat 2 of those meals prior to actually hiking. So I'll eat that dinner that night, and I'll eat breakfast the next morning before I even go. And then we start on the Menong Trail, or Menong Ridge Trail, and that's kind of how I'm avoiding backtracking. So then we'll hike. The first day along the Menong will be really tough. Probably the toughest of the trip. That's twofold. 1, pack as heavy as it's going to be. 2, I've heard that there's a lot of beaver dam crossings, and that you could end up getting pretty wet, and that could be slow going. Plus, it's an almost 13-mile day, so that one will be tough. And then on the Wednesday, which I believe, if memory serves, I've typed enough of this stuff up that I'm pretty confident in a lot of this. Yeah, there shouldn't be any problem with water along the way. However, I will try to hit some people up and make sure that the creeks are actually full, and that I'm not going to be bypassing water. And there were some people that were picked up not too long ago because they were dehydrated. I don't know if these people only, were carrying a 20-ounce bottle of water, or if they legitimately got messed up because water source they thought was going to be there wasn't. That information has not yet come out. So the only campsite that I'm kind of not high on as far as the research I've done is East Chicken Bone. Everything I've heard states that it's not a great campsite. However, just with the way things play out, that's kind of my best option, because as it is, the next day will be my longest of 13 miles, and it isn't exactly an easy 13 miles. It's not the hardest, but it isn't exactly easy. And then that's my last day, and I'm trying to stay in Rock Harbor. Rock Harbor, it typically is fairly full from what I gather, and I'll be rolling in a little bit later than I would probably like, but that's kind of the only way I can do it, unless I make that last day like a 15-mile day or something like longer, and I just don't know if I want to do that. So I could pass it up and go stay at Daisy Farm, and it's only like an extra 2 miles. But then I'm either backtracking back up to the Greenstone to hike that, and finish that 13 miles the next day, which becomes 14 or 15. And I may do that, I don't know. Or I'm backtracking along basically day one from Daisy Farm. So there's an option there. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do yet. That's a decision I'll make on trail. But right now the plan is stay at East Chicken Bone and then hike almost the remainder of the Greenstone and then come off and hike out to Rock Harbor. Okay, sorry about that. Kid came and interrupted me, but let's see, where was I? Okay, I did go into further detail on the distances, mainly because I came up with different distances based on which source I looked at. So if I look at the Nat Geo map, it says it's about 90.7 miles. The Dufresne, I have that spelled wrong on here, says it's like 91.6, and the Greenstone, which is the like the newsletter from the national park, says 89.4. So I'm just factoring it as it's going to be about 90 miles over the course of the 8 days of hiking. I have all the intersections in here and kind of what trail I'm along. I am not necessarily like planning on using this for on the trail. However, I felt like it forced me to slow down and really look at the map, look at my options, and look at the distances and make sure I had things proper. You can kind of see over here where I put in that where there wasn't water or where I would have trouble with some of that stuff. So that's kind of why I did this particular sheet. Useful links. So this is just kind of some sites that I used when I first got started. I'll be taking the Ranger 3 out to the island. That's from Houghton, Michigan. And then obviously the site with the regular National Park Service website for Isle Royale. This is the Intellicast.com has the history of weather for locations, and I found it to be obviously fairly accurate because it uses a long-term history. So the week that I'm there, the average lows are around 45 and the average highs are around 65. So that's kind of what I'm planning for. I've been watching the forecast, and it's actually been highs, or recently the highs have been in the mid to upper 60s, and the lows have been in the low 50s, low to mid 50s, which honestly that would be perfect for me. But we're still 2.5 weeks out, 3 weeks out, so that can change quite a bit in that amount of time. And then I'm shipping my resupply package through to Wendigo, which means I have to use the Voyager 2 ferry to get that package over there. So I pulled that information up along the way. And then just where I purchased the America the Beautiful Pass and all that. So those were some useful links that I think anybody could use. I did find that I use All Trails. You could use whatever mapping program you want to go through from there. But these were some questions I had while I was beginning preparations. Just some things that you might find useful, I guess. Can I do a resupply package? Yeah, it's going to cost $10 plus postage. So I'm going to use a like a USPS flat rate box. I'm going to fill it up with my food and a battery pack and maybe a thin another undershirt to swap undershirts halfway through. So that stuff will be in the box, along with a small roll of packing tape and a shipping label that is already prepaid to return from there to here. And basically what I'll do is when I open the box, I'll pull out the new battery, put in the old battery, pull out the new shirt and all the new food, put the old shirt back in. Anything else I've deemed that I want to ditch that fits in that box, I'll ditch it. I'll tape that box back up, pay the rangers to get the package out on the next ferry and have it shipped home. And I'll probably include a Sharpie in there as well, so I can cross off all the, because you have to write on each corner like that it's going to yourself, the date you're picking it up and all that. So I'll probably cross all that off so that there's no confusion that that's supposed to be coming outbound and it's not, that I didn't pick it up. So that's kind of where I stand with that. Looking back at the sheet, you know, you can see, yeah, I'm going to sleep in my car outside the dock. When I come home, the route is shorter because I'm going to come through Wisconsin. So I may try just driving it straight through, because it's like, I believe it's 8 or 9 hours instead of 12. The question just will be if I'm too exhausted to do that. And if so, I'll either stop at a rest stop along the way, or I'll grab a campground somewhere in Wisconsin and just spend the night. But the reality is, I feel pretty confident I can make that drive home without putting myself at risk. I've done much stupider and much longer drives, like coming home from Yellowstone to Indiana straight through, and I drove all but about, I think it was about 4 hours of it that my wife drove while I tried to get a little sleep. So done much stupider. Let's see. Yeah, that's really everything. I got close on my base weight, but no cigar. I added a few things that I originally wasn't planning on taking, and just wasn't quite able to shave off the weight that I had hoped to shave off. So let's see. Weather. So here's kind of an actual list of the average highs and lows for the days I'll be there. As you can see, it trends down, but basically 68 down to 65. So the average for that 8 days or 9 days is 67 degrees. Lows 44. There's not a forecast for a ton of rain. So that is good, I suppose. That doesn't mean I can't get there and it's a bad week. Tent options, I kind of looked at how much each thing weighed, and I added it up. So my tent at its max is basically 2.5 pounds. If I just drop the bags, I really only save 1/10 of a pound. If I drop the body, so do the minimalist tent, which is the rain fly, the footprint, the poles, and the stakes, that's 1.7 pounds. However, I think that for me that option's really only viable for winter, and I hear the mosquitoes are pretty bad right now. So I kind of nixed that. And then obviously, again, no bags, 1.6 pounds is kind of the minimalist version I could go. Then I compared what that would look like to I have a Sil Nylon tube tarp That's the actual, I think it's the actual brand, is Tube Tarp. But it has like a zipper in it so that you can make it into like a pup tent, like a A-frame pup tent. Or you can unzip it and like have C shape, or just have it over your head. The weight savings were not enough at 1.7 pounds. The weight savings just weren't there for me to want to do that. And again, I've heard the mosquitoes are bad enough that since I don't have a whole lot of shelters to stay in, I ruled that out. So, I'm carrying the full 2.5 pounds of the tent, which still is a laughably light tent. I mean, in all reality, I know it's not the lightest ones that they have out there. If I could use my trekking poles, I could save probably, I guess my poles are almost 8 ounces. So, I could save another 8 ounces off of it from there. Alright, so that's the plan there. Let me pull in my All Trails map and show you kind of what I'm looking at here. So over the course of the 8 days, I'll have about 8,000 feet of elevation gain, and basically 8,000 feet of elevation loss. So it's pretty much a straight wash as far as that's concerned. But you can see here along the elevation profile, so day 1, the first 7 miles have basically no elevation change. And then the elevation that does change goes up about 100 feet and then back down. And that would be Mosky Basin there, roughly. And then if you go another 2 miles, right there is kind of the other campsite that I was planning on going to. So let me pull this back up here so I can talk a little bit more intelligently on that. So that would be Lake Ritchie, about 12.5 miles. So you can see that really isn't much as far as elevation change goes. And then day 2, if I can make that, day 2 this is me getting to the Greenstone, I believe. No. Right there's about when I hit the Greenstone. So still not too bad to start the day, and then you have this just massive climb in a short period of time. What is that? It's 300 feet in less than half a mile. And then, some ups and downs and all that fun stuff. And then, it just kind of continues on throughout the rest of the week. You can see there's not huge changes along the Manong, but it is a little bit more consistent up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, which can be tougher than long ups and long downs. At least more demoralizing. So, yeah. So that's my planned route there. This is why I like using All Trails to kind of do my planning and tracking. I think I'm just super excited about this. I'm not doing a backcountry permit, so I can't just camp anywhere. I will if I'm having an emergency or something, but the whole stealth camping stuff, I'm just not planning on doing it because I want to follow the rules and respect the land. So hoping to see some moose while I'm there, and I've seen some amazing pictures online of stuff that they have going on, and like just the views and everything else. So I'm really excited to see that. And I'm ready to go. I do have to say that I am not training as much as I would like to be right now. I was on a training hike a couple weeks ago and did something to my foot. I didn't roll it. I didn't Like, nothing was a sharp pain. I thought I was cramping in my foot, and I just kind of worked through it. However, it got worse the next couple of days, to where it was kind of hard to walk. Now I'm okay to walk, but it is sore. So I've just been nursing it a lot, keeping it elevated, doing a little bit of the, the rice method, rest, incline, compression. I don't even know all the things from the acronym. I do. I'm just brain farting right now. But in all seriousness, I'm trying to take care of that, so that has me a little bit nervous about day one, to be quite frank, about pushing it to that 12 miles. But, you got to challenge yourself sometimes to know what you can do. And, if you don't fail at things, are you really trying? So that's my goal. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to try to do something that I've never done before, and if I fail, I'm going to be okay with that, and I will roll with it, and I will make adjustments if I have to. But I'm going to enjoy this time. I've got 9 days, 8 nights to explore someplace I've never been before, and how many people are blessed to be able to do that. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I think I've rambled on quite enough for this video. So I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope if you're planning a trip, maybe for the first time out to Isle Royale, that some of this stuff has helped. I will absolutely do a follow-up to this and talk about some things that worked, didn't work, things that were really helpful, or whatever. So in a few weeks, maybe a month or month and a half, by the time I get back and get stuff edited, be on the lookout for that as well. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope that you'll be able to get out and enjoy a hike of your own sometime soon. Bye.